consultant, Lorraine Clifford's daughter. And Patricia is in Calgary, and she is with IMBUE Aesthetics. How are you today, my dear? It's so nice to talk to you again.
I'm good. Thank you so much. It is so nice to talk to you as well. Just in regards to the name IMBUE Aesthetics,
IMBUE.
imbue means to do something with grace, to do something with passion. And I wasn't always called IMBUE Aesthetics. I guess as the years went by through my aesthetics career, I learned also a lot about myself. And at one point, I was this insecure person that felt like I didn't have worth and value. And I honestly chose something very simple. It was called Patricia's Aesthetics. It was very like, there you go.
Very bland.
That's what I am. But as I started to grow and, discover my value and my worth, I always thought about what's my goal at the end of this? Like in 20 years from now, where do I want to be? What do I see? What do I envision? And I envision a storefront that has my name or a name or an atmosphere that I want to create for my clients. And so what I did is I actually hired a guy who his job is to come up with names of books or names of places based on a little bit of information about you and what you want to create and what's the story about. So I sent him some information about like what I like, what kind of atmosphere I want to create for my clients. I'm into antique stuff. I like stuff with value. I like boho vibe. I like doing things with passion. And so he gave 5 different names, and IMBUE was one of them. And I thought, no, that's the one. And if anybody wanted to come to a place, they would be imbued, which everything that I do and put into my services, I do it with the utmost passion and create the best atmosphere I can for somebody. So they can come and, just release and just relax and allow me to take care of them. So IMBUE Aesthetics was created after that. And I always I'm also an educator here in Calgary. I educate estheticians. And in my courses, not only do I teach them on how to do the aesthetics, I also teach them the career side of things. And when you're creating a business, yes, it's hard financially, but whatever you put in, it does return. If the energy's there, whatever you put into it, it comes back to you. But you got to put into it, right? And investing in somebody to create something that has meaning, regardless of if it's a business card or if it's a business name or if it's a web page, putting that money into that shows your client or whoever's on the other end, shows them that, you're putting that beautiful effort into it to create whatever you're creating. So I tell my students, I'm like, don't cheap out on business cards, on logos. Like spend the money who's somebody who has those, background knowledge on creating beautiful images. Spend the money on that, and that attaches, that energy and that value to yourself as well, And I was at that point. At one point, I just created a little Patricia's Aesthetics, little floppy, cheap business card.
Yeah, the ones you buy at Staples.
Yeah, and you know what? I envisioned myself as honestly worthless at that time. I was in a bad marriage. It was tough. It was tough, and so I envisioned myself of like, okay, well, let me just slap this together and try to make money.
Good enough.
Yeah, and I lowered myself even in cost-wise.
Wow.
And again, this is something that I teach all my students as well, is like, I was charging $5 for upper lip thread, and so those clients that are going to come in are going to be the ones that only want to pay $5. And if you up your price, they're going to be out the door. So they don't respect you and they don't value you. So throughout the years, it's been hard. Honestly, when you look at yourself and you got to do the work on yourself and you got to change and you got to understand your value, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my whole entire life. I'm a mom of 5. I came from a family that we had hardship. You know, I was in a marriage that was a hardship, you know, and you think those things are hard. But when you actually have to do that work on you and you actually have to realize your value, I swear it's like ripping layers off of your body. And sometimes you don't want to do it. You're like, no, I'd rather just be in my little hole and just, you know,
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
not ready yet.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
You know, but once you
Yeah.
do start to like climb out of that, and it took me a while, but I had to get up every morning and, you know, look at myself in the mirror, like do the mirror work. You know,
The
and
mirror
just
work
say,
comes time and time again. People always speak about the mirror work.
well, you know, and you know, it's interesting, like even before I met Daryl, and even before I came into the Doc Detox and the Wolf non-surgical stuff, it was something that I, you know, was just looking at you, you know, and what essence, what aura do I have? Do I have value? And then going up from there. And so what I started to do was go and cross off those prices and then put, you know, I'm charging $10. I'm charging $15. Now I'm at 20.
Was that
You know?
was that difficult?
That was hard. That was really hard because again, it's like I'm not worth it. I'm not worth it. I'm not worth it. I'm getting so emotional talking about it because it's a real life experience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would be in classes teaching my class, and I would be like and I'm saying with like this firm energy, and I'm like, every time you put a certificate up on a wall, on your wall, you increase your prices because you paid to get that education, and education is there's no price to it. You know, it is invaluable. It is so valuable, but you can't put a price tag on it. So it's like you become more and more worthy of what you're doing, you know? And so I was preaching, but I wasn't doing. And then I had students come to me and they're like, oh, Patricia, I want to have your services done. You're amazing. You do so good. Your work is so good. And they would come in and I would charge them, you know,
$5.
the low price. Yeah. And they were like, Patricia, like you have over 20 years experience. You're an educator. You're a business owner. Like, why are you doing this? You teach us to charge more, but you're not. And then I started to realize, like, why am I doing that? It's because I don't feel invaluable. So, you know, and then again, taking other courses, you know, doing some more research, reading books. I love reading books. So reading books on, you know, self-worth and how to change and, you know, and slowly just understanding that, you know, I am valuable. And you know what, if somebody doesn't like it, you know, then they can see somebody else that's cheaper. That's okay. Because I am worth that money. I am worth that time, you know, because I have so much passion when I come into this room and see my clients. I'm worth that. So now I'm at a point that I would say I'm pretty much, you know, top dollar there.
Awesome.
But I'm also top dollar in my spirit. Yeah. So I'm worth that, you know.
What were
I'll give you an experience, and I 100% guarantee you will be satisfied. Because,
that's beautiful.
You know, I put in the work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you're that good.
Yeah.
Because
I could finally say that. You know, before I would have a conversation with somebody, I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm okay. You know, I'm a lash tech. I'm a sugar. I am a threader. Like, oh, I'm okay. But now I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I definitely, you know, I'm showing my pictures. The other thing, I would never post on Instagram. You know, I would never post my work, or I wouldn't post it on, you know, Facebook or anything, because I thought, this doesn't look good. You know, but, you know, once I started to grow and I look back at the pictures, I'm like, damn, I'm good at this, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there. This is what I do. You know, and a lot of times when I post something, because I am like, you know, into, you know, a lot of like self-help, and I'm into loving people, and I'm into supporting people, I'll put a little blurb there that talks about, you know, something that has to do with us spiritually. So I'm like, whoever's, you know, watching on the other end, and if that connects to them, you know, they're going to love it. So that's okay. And I can't believe, actually, since I've been doing the amount of followers, it's just been like every day is like, oh, new follower.
Oh, isn't that great?
Oh, yeah.
People want to hear what you have to say. Can you share with me so this whole transformation from I am worthless to where you are now, which is absolutely beautiful. And you have 5 children.
Yes.
Okay. So let's keep that in mind, that you're not just not just going to go sit and meditate for, 18 hours of the day sort of a thing. What kind of steps did you need to take? How did you get from there to where you are now? Like, because there's women, there's people out there that are just like, I just don't have the time for myself. And what did you do? How did you make this transformation to be who you are now?
Everybody's story is different. Everybody has a different story. But my story, I'm the type of person that, like, I see the fire and I have to go in and touch it, and it teaches me how hot it is. So honestly, it was a lot of trial and error. I honestly, at that point, I was surrounding myself with people who only put me down. Oh. And I did that because that's my value of me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people kept putting me down and putting me down and putting me down. And again, I was in a 20-year marriage that was just, I was with the tyrant,
Mm-hmm.
And that was a weekly or daily cycle of mine of just being put down. Of course, you got to be put down to be kept,
Yeah. Whether it be subtly or whether it be like in your face.
And you know what the worst part was is that my kids witnessed that. And that was actually the beginning of my transition. Actually, my second born son, he is a copy of me in a male form. And I believe that his spirit came to me in my life to be my voice that, I couldn't hear. And he would tell me very young, he's like, Mom, you're worth more.
Wow.
Mom, I need to see you grow. Like these kind of words as a young child.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so
that makes me want to cry.
I know. It's super emotional. He's a very, very spiritual kid, and he's actually taking the whole life course and also the non-surgical and the deep tissue in July.
In Calgary.
In Calgary.
He's taking the whole life coach.
He's taking everything, yeah.
Wow, and both non-surgical, the whole life coach.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, in Calgary in July.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's a very he's very intuitive. He's very spiritual, and so he was the one who started this whole Mom, you're worth more. Oh. And what happened is I just started to think I am worth more, and I need to get out of this, and that was hard, getting out of that type of constant put down, because that's what you feel you're worth. You're only worth that. And I had the business at that time, but I was Patricia's Aesthetics then,
Mm-hmm.
So to be brutally honest, it was probably a year before I left that I started to plan things. Mm-hmm. I started to plan okay, what does my business look like? So I actually went out. I was home based at that time. Again, kept. Let me keep her so she doesn't grow, you know, because honestly, I believe that he probably saw that I was so much more, and he was so insecure of a person that he was like, I'm going to lose it if I don't shame her, Wow. And so what I did is I decided to work outside of home. So I found I'm an educator, obviously, here. I'm actually here at the Aesthetic Institute in Calgary.
Yeah.
And the owners are beautiful friends of mine. And they had a room available for rent. And so I started renting that room.
Good.
Moved out of the house. Then started planning, putting money aside, and as soon, I would say 2 or 3 months before I left, I joined with a psychologist. And I knew inside of me that I was going to need a type of support that nobody around me could give me. Mm-hmm. Because it was a support from a more of an intellectual, an educational background. Somebody who knew a brain of a woman who was suppressed, a brain of a woman who was kept, and I did that because, like I said, I'm the type of person that I touch the fire before I know it's it's bad for me. So I needed somebody to like pull me back into reality, into life, and say, hey, this isn't right, and I'm going to help you grow. And so without anybody knowing, I went to appointments, and that woman had started to help me understand my value and understand reality, because when you're in a box, that's all you think is that box is real. You know, and when you step out of the box, and finally step out of the box, then the life and the energy and everything starts to change around you. And then you realize how bad that actually was. And you cannot believe that the people you sucked in with you, the people you became friends with, you know, like there's a saying, and it says that once you grow, like people will just automatically fall off.
Yeah.
They'll fall off your circle.
Yeah. Well, they can't handle that energy. They can't handle that vibration of you, you know?
No. And I'm telling you, it was crazy how that happened. And all of a sudden, the people that I wanted in my life came. You know, good people that could support me, people that could help me financially. You know, being a single mom at that time was four children. I was totally afraid that I couldn't survive on my own. And you know what? That's the other thing is fear. You're afraid. Fear is the conqueror of growth.
Yeah.
You know, and the woman that helped me, she said, it's the little girl inside of you that's just afraid.
Yeah.
And nobody is going to be able to comfort her but yourself. So you have to learn how to reparent that little girl in you. And I thought, well, how do I do that? I can parent my kids, but how to reparent myself, you know? And it was just through lessons through her on how to do that, you know, like giving self hugs.
Oh, really?
You know,
That's,
yeah, just in times that I was so afraid and in tears and I'm just like a mess, and I'll just be like, okay, you know, I'm looking for someone to hold me, but at the end of the day, okay, like someone could hold you, but it's not going to fix it. You actually have to hold yourself.
Yeah, you need to hold yourself. Yeah, you are your own guiding light.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're
your own bright light.
I can't tell you in my whole, like I turned 40, I'm going to be 41 this year.
Yeah.
That is the most powerful life lesson that I've learned so far to this day.
Yeah.
Is that you actually at the end of the day are the only one that's got you.
Yeah.
You know, and when you do that, that power and that strength and that energy, it all shifts and all changes.
Yeah.
I feel taller. I feel like this part of my chest
is opened up.
Yeah. You know, like all the aches and pains have changed too as well. You know, and I can't say like I'm perfect. Like I still have those moments. That little girl inside of me says, you can't do that. You know, I can't make that transition. I can't fork out that money because I'm afraid. Yeah. But then I tell myself, again, I hold myself and I tell myself, I got you. It's okay.
I got this. Don't worry. I got this.
Yeah. And then, you know, after, you know, a couple of minutes of just sulking or being in that little afraid moment, I say, okay, yeah, let's get up. Let's wash my face. Let's put my makeup on. Let's go out and let's do this differently. Yeah. And you know what's really interesting too, you know, being the mom of 5, I always thought about what's like the trauma of my kids. You know, how am I going to fix that with them? Because they witnessed me struggle, you know, and they witnessed me be abused, you know. So how do I change that in their lives? Do they all have to go to therapy? Do I have to, you know, sit and talk to them for hours and try to reteach them? Like, how does that happen? And you know what's really interesting? Because of the energy that they see in their mom, it's automatic for them. Yeah. They're like, even though like my eldest, he's 23. Yeah. And my youngest is 15 months old. Wow. I'm remarried. I'm in a new marriage. It's completely different. It blows my mind because I'm like, I was such in a box, you know? And here I am in this loving, beautiful relationship. I still have a lot of growth. You know, there's still a lot of growth there. But it is so different. It's so, like, reciprocated, you know? Like, it's so, the energies are matching. It's different. It's totally different. But, you know, I was really concerned about my kids. And I don't have to reteach them anything, to just know. And here is Sherwan, again, my son, that will be taking the course, like elevating higher than what I am spiritually, emotionally, everything. Just because he witnessed, what went through mom, like what happened to mom. And my 23-year-old, the same thing. My daughter, the same thing. My youngest son, the same thing. Each one of them, have grown so much. And I just, the example started with me.
Exactly. The example started with you. There are teachers. I truly believe there are teachers, but we, as, let's just say, strong women, are their example. And if you can love yourself, like you said, give your hug, if you are standing in your power and just being, no, I am my bright light and I am enough and I am. So there. Right?
Yeah, and the person that's going to root for you the most is you, but the person who's also going to try to corrupt yourself the most is you as well.
Yeah.
So you
have
to.
I step away from that you a lot. The one that's trying to get you. You're like, you know what? You got no say in this.
Yeah.
You got no say in this. I'm going,
And and another thing too that's really, like, again, going through the therapy and stuff like that, when in my transition, was that, like, there's a way to do that without being, excuse my language, but bitchy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be in our head, we can turn it, because again, this negative energy, we want to rise up, but we also carry that negativity, and it could be came across as, bitchy, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, one of the things I'm just thinking of right now, it comes off my head, the therapist told me, she grabbed me and she's like, I want you to sit down in this chair. And I want you to imagine that you're a queen of your kingdom, like my kingdom, inside of me.
Yep.
And she's like, but you're going to rule your kingdom. And how are you going to rule it? Are you going to be a
tyrant?
A tyrant?
Yeah.
Ruler? Or are you going to sit with grace?
Yeah.
And with peace? And everybody's just going to know
and
that
kindness.
you are the queen of your kingdom.
Yeah.
And she's like, how does that look?
Yeah.
And the first time I was sitting and I was like all crunched over. And she's like, how does that look? And all of a sudden, again, open the shoulders.
Beautiful. Oh, she's cut out for a moment, but that's okay. She'll be back. There she is. Told you she'd be back.
Yeah. Open the shoulders. How do you sit?
Yeah. How do you carry yourself?
How do you embody that woman,
Yeah.
And that's been a practice.
Yeah. Every moment.
Yeah.
It's critical. That, like you just said, with your shoulders up, your chin up, that's, that slight smile on your face, which people think is corny, but it's so just, and living that kindness, feeling that light, and just knowing of, like, I totally got this.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's a beautiful feeling, isn't it?
It is.
It's very empowering.
It is. And I still have a long journey, but, like, and I'm excited for that journey. I'm excited for the moments that come to test me,
Yeah.
And everything that I've learned, I put it into play, and I say, okay, world, what do you got next? I'm just going to do this with the best of knowledge that I possibly can, and I'm going to continue to grow.
Yeah, with grace.
With grace, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about getting older, I remember a long time ago.
Go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead.
I was saying a long time ago I was afraid of the age, but now I'm excited, because with age becomes wisdom, and the more wisdom I have, especially the good wisdom, I'm like, wow.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
And even the not so good wisdom, right? The wisdom to be able to be like, oh, that's not happening ever again, right? We're not going there ever again. And also having that wisdom of self.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm super excited too, because, like, my son getting into it as well.
Yeah. I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah. Like, he's going to join the business. You know what? I could just share, actually.
Please.
Like, so of course, there's, again, built up stuff in him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had so much neck pain, so much neck pain. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, let's do a deep tissue on you. So I did about
Okay, so
45 minutes.
you also do wolf non-surgical.
I do it for clients here in Calgary. I have many people who are in love with it. Again, it's very new in Calgary. But the best advertisement that I've learned in these 20 some odd years of business is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somebody's experience, and they go and they tell their friends or their people around them, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call or a text saying, hey, I heard you helped my friend, I need help. And this is how it's so powerful. I even told Sharon, because I'm on Instagram too as well, and I do a lot of TikToks and social media. I told him, I said, I'm going to interview you because people need to hear this, And so I'm doing his non-surgical, and he's a tough guy. He works out. He's very bulky. He stands in his, what he calls his power. But I see through it because I'm his mom. I know what he needs.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Anyway, so on the outside you'd say, no, this guy, he's tough. He's got it.
Yeah.
So I'm working on his back, and I get right across his right shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to feel like, I know when I do it on people, there's a point where I know where the emotions are stuck. I can feel it in my body. And I have to take a second. I have to go, because it's not mine. I don't want to take it on myself, you know? So I just breathe it out, and I could feel myself start to tremble. And I said, Sharon, I feel so sorry for you. I don't know what it is, but it's powerful. And then I keep working on the spot, and he burst out in tears. Just crying. And I said, it's okay. And I'd stop, and I kind of massage his back, and then I go up there again. And I think we don't have communication of what this stuck emotion is.
Yeah.
We have an idea, obviously, through training what it is, but there's no communication between myself and who I'm working on. Their experience. And it's trapped in their body, and it's causing them pain. You know,
issues in your tissues.
Your tissues. And
emotional.
I massage his back out, and I go back in there again, and I'm gritting out the calcified stuff because I can feel it just like grinding away, right? And I'm giving him a second, and I'm like, you know what, Sharon, at this moment, you can just choose to let go.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but again, I feel like I want to cry for you. But you just choose to let go. And he sobbed so hard. Like he was 5 all over. I'm getting choked just talking about it because, he's my son too, right at the same moment. Yeah. But like, it was so relieving. By the end of it, he was like, I feel like 1,000 pounds is just taken off my shoulder. And he's like, he's like, Mom, he's like, that's crazy. That's crazy. He's like, I didn't talk to you about anything, but all these visions came up in my head, all these childhood visions. And he's like, I saw, and I kept telling myself, Sharon, you're strong. Sharon, you're strong. Sharon, you're strong. And he's at the end of the day, he's like, I'm not. And then just started crying, So, but he's like, it's so relieving to just like allow yourself to let go.
Yeah. You're making me cry.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing.
And that's how powerful this treatment is.
It is
powerful.
Wolf non-surgical emotions, right? It releases, people like, I heard it back when I was in university, this sort of a thing. And you work on that. And the reason why they heard it was because it was some emotion that they were trapping. They weren't letting it go. They weren't letting it flow through them. So when you learn the wolf non-surgical, you're able to help your son. You're able to help your kids. You're able to help, your friends, your family, and your business.
Exactly.
And that's so beautiful. Okay, so quickly. Yeah. Nope, go ahead. No,
go ahead. No,
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, just through those experiences, I tell my clients, and I also told my son, I'm like, just remember what that thought is. And then go on the next few days, the next weeks, the next months, whatever it is. And what you need to work on.
Yeah.
How do you accept that memory? how do you let go of it? How do you transmute it so that it doesn't come back and stick right back where it was? Because it can. If we pick, I told him, I said, if we pick up on those thoughts again, it will go back. But now at least we're aware of what actually is happening. You know?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
beautiful.
powerful. Yeah, it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
I love it.
That experience is like, and I've had my whole body done up and down so many times. Like there's nothing that works for me like the Wolf non-surgical.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's
and
so cool.
You can do, which I'm sure you do, Wolf non-surgical facelifts.
Oh yes, I do a lot of those for my clients. Actually, lately it's been super popular. I've done a whole bunch of them. And the number one thing that I see obviously right away is the difference before and after.
Yeah.
Anybody listening or following, definitely go on to my IMBUE Aesthetics on Instagram. And you can scroll down, you can see the one that I did on my mother. Like, it was crazy.
Crazy. Like,
it was like a whole different person. It was like,
totally.
She was like asleep and then she was like woke up and then reversed 20 years. Like, it was crazy. And that was a 2-hour treatment, you know?
Wow.
And so the first thing I noticed, obviously, is the difference. And my clients noticed that right away. They're like, wow, I was sleeping. Like, I looked so bad before. And honestly, they didn't. But there's just so much that happens when you start to attack the calcified tissues, the lymphatic system. And then the other number one thing that I noticed with my clients is how much we're congested in here.
Oh my gosh.
One of the biggest complaints that my clients have is like, oh, my black circles under my eyes, or my puffiness. People are very swollen in here, or very dark, you know. And then I do a non-surgical facelift on them, and they go home. First of all, they start feeling the mucus that comes down, it trickles in their throat. Yeah. And then, because I really I try to decalcify all the sinuses, because that's all linked, you know,
that's all puffy.
Yes. And they go home, and the next like 2-3 days, they're just taking all the mucus out. They're blowing and blowing. And you know that going forward, that cleans up all of the sinuses. It cleans up the lymphatic system. And then, you know, the dark circles, they just naturally detox. Yeah. So, yeah, amazing. There's a lot. There's a lot. It helps energetically, even on your face. Like, energetically, you just feel picked up.
Yeah.
You know?
It is an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
It truly is. And a 2-hour treatment. How long of a treatment do you normally do on your clients?
So a normal facial is about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But non-surgical? The non-surgical, it's a 2-hour treatment. So I do about an hour of the non-surgical on the face. Yeah. And then I do a full facial. So depending on what the issue is, sometimes I can see in the skin, like, you're dehydrated. Sometimes clients come in with acneic problems. So I address those problems in the facial, and as well as do the non-surgical.
Yeah. Addressing it in the facial the acne is fabulous. Do you talk about at all the diet? Do you talk about the bacteria in the stomach and, you know?
Number one sell. Actually, I have a lot of number one sellers. Like, the Doc Detox stuff doesn't stay on my shelf. I'm telling you, it flies. But the tea, cleansing tea is so important.
The cleansing tea.
I get them on that right away. Yeah. I talk to them about enemas. I talk to them about, you know, the healthy eating.
Yeah, the ultimate coffee enema, the eating.
Yeah, everything. So in that 2 hours, you're not only getting the facial and the non-surgical, you're also getting the education behind it.
Beautiful.
You know, and honestly, like, the investment in yourself is like, again, there's no number put on it. That's you. You're investing in you. Yeah. This beautiful body that was gifted to us, like, we have to take care of it. Yeah. And if anything shows here, it's because of here is not good. Yeah. Yeah. You know, if you have too many rhytides, which is our fancy name for wrinkles, if you have hyperpigmentation on your skin, if you have eczema, if you have acne, if you have rough skin, like, I can tell, like, when I first see you right away, I'm like, there's something happening in your gut. I can just see it because I can see what's happening on the face. Yeah. You know, and there's different parts actually, and I like to show my clients this too, but in Chinese medicine, there's different parts of the face that if you're breaking out or if you're having certain issues,
Yeah.
it links to organs. So like if somebody has a lot of acne up here, there's too much oil in their diet. Somebody has acne down here, whatever they're eating is changing their hormones. You know, like the acne
Which is
in the
something you see
cheeks.
with teens, right? You
Yeah.
see all this, and you see between the eyes a lot, you know, with teens.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just they can't digest the food. They can't they
Oh
are
gosh,
not
the majority
digesting.
of it's not food.
Well, exactly. Right? So it's not food, you know, and your body is going like, "Oh my god," like,
Yeah.
you know, just a crazy off story. Like as soon as my baby was born, I had to be on a strong antibiotic because I had this bacteria that only 10% of women have vaginally. And of course, the midwife goes through all these things that could happen.
Yeah.
And it was a choice between my husband and I. I didn't want to be on the antibiotics because I have a whole different thought about it, but my husband has a whole different thought too, and I respect that. And we didn't want to have any illness with our daughter, so I went on an IV of antibiotics.
Wow.
And so, unfortunately, when my daughter was born, she was born without any of the good microbiome and everything that comes out the vaginal walls to protect her.
Yeah.
And so, just a quick story about how gut health and skin health. After she was born, it was probably into a few weeks, and she had baby acne, really bad.
Wow.
And she was colicky, crying, and I'm like, I don't understand why. Like, I got the milk, everything's happening. And then it just triggered to me of what my knowledge is on gut. I'm like, why is her gut so upset? So I put her on a probiotic. Yeah, she didn't have bacteria. Yeah. So I put her on a probiotic.
Yeah.
And crazy enough, I started to give her a little bit of my water with the black diamond in it.
That I was just gonna say, that's where it's at right there.
Yeah. So and it's safe enough. She drinks it. Like I have a big 4-liter thing of water that has my black diamond in it, and I give it to my baby. You know, and it's creating that environment in her gut.
Repopulated
that,
her bacteria in her tummy.
And all the baby acne and the colic stop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people like giving her the probiotic. So many people think that that's the answer, but it's a foreign bacteria in your stomach. So giving that, like you just said, that black diamond, it is safe. And it repopulates that bacteria that's in the tummy, which, is your whole body, because that's where your biggest brain is actually in your gut, right? In your large intestine. That's why it's also called a gut feeling, because that's where the brain is, not the brain, but that's where it all comes from, right? And if you have an unhealthy large intestine, then nothing works properly. Everything gets confused.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And with her, like compared to my other kids, again, like I was very young when I had my other kids, and now I have all this education. So with her, like her diet is completely different. Like I feed her avocados. Like I just with the spoon, I'll cut it in half and I just feed her avocados. I give her a lot of raw, a lot of, healthy, clean diet, and she is a happy, happy baby. So
you be careful. You give her all that good stuff, she's gonna outsmart you.
Yeah. That's good. I want to empower that. We had a brief conversation before we got on live here, like about lineage,
come back.
like what I can do to educate them so that they can outpower and outshine me in the future and carry on that lineage of health and knowledge and everything.
I love it.
Yeah.
Patricia, you are an amazing, amazing woman and an amazing mother.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing. Wow. I can't wait to talk to you again, because we could just talk for hours, but
I know we said 20 minutes. It's like
I know.
40 minutes later.
Well done. If there's anything worth doing, it's worth doing well. So
exactly. I believe that too.
Yeah. Patricia, thank you so much for your time. You are a bright light, I'm sure, as well, for all of your friends and your clients. All right, my dear.
I appreciate it.
All right. And for the rest of you BraveHeart women out there, remember 3, 2, 1. You got this.
You got it.
See you
for sure. Okay, see you.